What an eventful week that was.
It should have been a goal. An absolutely terrible decision, and he made a few bad ones.
Referees at this level, I mean, if I asked them what day of the week it was, they'd go and check a calendar, wouldn't they? We play like that in every home game between now and the end of the season. We are going to win a hell of a lot more than we don't.
If that's what we're going to get, sign me up for it.
It put to bed that absolute nonsense that if we don't win a game of football, Luton fans aren't happy.
I bet they couldn't believe their luck because they were second best. As a clash of styles, if you put both of them on a table and say, choose one, I would choose the way Luton played.
The attacking structure of this football team has massively changed in front of our very eyes over the last 6 weeks or so. Right now, there's a better player playing League One football than Liam Walsh. Oh, well, I want to see him because he must be playing bloody well. I don't know what more we can do other than sign Lionel Messi, and let's be fair, we're not going to sign Lionel Messi anytime soon.
Unbelievable goal. I mean, he's whacked that from all of 25 yards, and for a good 12 and a half of those yards, I was going, oh, why have you done? Oh my God, he's got a goal.
The town finished off an eventful week on the pitch with a 2-2 draw against Lincoln on Saturday. Alongside me to look back at that game and everything that's happened over the last 7 days or so is the Lutonian journalist James Cunliffe. Jimbo, it's quite an entertaining game, wasn't it?
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. And hopefully you'll enjoy reflecting back on it right after this intro. Hello everyone, welcome along to another episode of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, the award-winning, longest-running Luton Town podcast. This season, the show is in association with Solid, providing opportunities, provisions and assistance so our academy can fulfil their potential. As I mentioned before the intro, we're looking back at Luton 2, Lincoln City 2. We'll touch on the trophy, debacle, transfers and everything else all in this podcast over the next hour or so. And I've got Jimbo with me, as always. Jimbo, I've done the instant reaction, and do you know what? I was still buzzing when I was outside the ground, and it's been a while since that's happened. Even in the games that we'd won over Christmas, the games were dead and buried so early that not the enthusiasm, but the kind of intensity had died a little bit by the time I got out of the ground. Not yesterday, it was just still buzzing.
You and me both. I think that was my favourite game of the season by a long way. I think it was a great battle of styles. They were very direct, very tall, made no bones about the way they were playing. And we played some of the best football we've played all season. And, you know, the goals aside, which were poor that we conceded, I thought everything else really encouraged me.
Yeah, I mean, the ingredients that you want for a right good game of football are a clash of styles on the pitch, an engaged crowd off of it, and a referee who does his best to wind people up. And we got everything yesterday, didn't we? Because he did, we did, and both teams had a clash of styles that kind of made it really interesting. Like you say, Lincoln, you know, they came down here with neon lights on with what they did, you know, get it forward, wrestle for it, and play off the second balls. And you can see why they're second in the league, because they're bloody good at what they do. Whether you'd want to watch it every week, that's up to you. But what they do, they are bloody good at.
Yeah, agreed. They are very everything I expected League One to be. They are the pinnacle of that from what I've seen of the teams this season. And I don't think I would like to watch it if it was my team, but you can't deny their results and where they are in the table. They were the informed team, as you highlighted, whether you're looking at 5 games, 10 games, whatever it was, they were the team and they gave us an absolute hiding at their place. I think they're even more direct here. I think I remember them playing some decent football at their place, or we were terrible enough to let them play some decent football. But here it was, very much them whacking it long to the big lads, and it worked obviously for the goals. But when they went 2-0 up, it was 22 minutes and we were the better side. and they hadn't had to work hard for the goals. That's the only disappointing thing, is those things. If you can cut those out and play like we had for 80 minutes, admittedly 10 minutes at the end, they had it. We tired a bit and they were bombarding us. But, you combine that sort of performance with, the second half against Stevenage and the, control we had against Wycombe. The last 4 home games really they've been enjoyable parts in it, but this one, it came together more and there was more to take home and really be enthusiastic about, which is why you are, which is why I am about it. And yeah, I just really enjoyed the game of football. I wish that we had got the result that we deserved, because we had a goal stolen from us and there were 2 very good chances that were missed either side of the half-time break. But, in terms of looking at how we will go about the rest of this season, if that's what we're going to get, sign me up for it.
Yeah, indeed so. We'll come on to where we're at with regards to this 8-game unbeaten spell in the league at home and everything else around it. But we're acutely aware that there was no UK TV for this one, so we'll quickly go through the game from start to finish. 2 changes from the starting lineup. Cal Naismith came in.
Yeah,
Cohen Bramall was the other one who came in. Shaden Morris went out and Chris Makosso went out. And if you saw Chris Makosso on Tuesday night, there is no arguments that he was left out of the side. We'll touch on what did and what didn't go right in the trophy a little later in the podcast. But same structure. Naismith just went in at centre half. I said he was going to have his work cut out to get in at left back, and that is the case. Johnson kept his place at left back. Naismith went into the slowest central defensive pairing I think I've ever seen in Luton shirt. But, they worked well together. You're right. We were the better side, even though we were 2-0 down in that game. We came out, whereas against Stevenage, they bullied us and they dominated us in that first half and we could not get in the game at all. That wasn't the case this time around. Liam Walsh picked up with the same intensity that he had in that second half and we were getting forward. You could clearly see the plan was to get the ball into Walsh, into Clark and get it out wide and attack them with speed, which was everything that we sort of wanted in the preview. And we had that chance early doors, didn't we, where the ball got out to Lawrence and he had that shot from the edge of the box that threatened Keith Keane's gutter rather than the goal. But it was a sign that we were at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Right from the word go, we wanted intensity and the fast start, and we got it. And, I thought he was really impressive in the first half, and I've had some people telling me on Twitter that he was a boy in a man's game. But I think that first half in particular, he was one of like 5 players that were running the show for Luton. And what I liked about it is that when we went 1 behind, we carried on and playing with the same intensity. 2 behind, heads didn't drop. That's a new thing, isn't it? Really, for 18 months, when we got punched, we went down. This time we're dragging ourselves off the canvas and going again and continuing. And I think the fans recognise that. So the atmosphere is really good. Admittedly, the referee had already cast himself as a pantomime villain at that point, which goes into the melting pot of it all. But I think really what the reaction was because of the way we were playing. And like I say, if we're going to play like that for the rest of the season, we're going to be okay.
Yeah, what yesterday did do is it put to bed that absolute nonsense that if we don't win a game of football, Luton fans aren't happy, because we didn't win a game of football yesterday. But the players got supported, and at the end they got clapped off, and there were even a few chants when they were doing the rounds of "We love you, Luton," like they used to be back in the olden days. Simply, as I've said all throughout this season, you stick a shift in, the score is largely irrelevant. Of course, we all want to win, but you stick a shift in, you'll get supported in that orange shirt, and they did yesterday, and we saw that with the scenes at the end.
Yeah, I thought so. I mean, half-time, really enthusiastic about it. And, we got back into that point, which, must be said that helps. But like I say, at 2-0, the reaction to how we were playing was good. And there were songs going around and sometimes it's been deathly quiet. The only real time it was actually quiet was like the first 5 minutes of the second half, where it was a bit quiet, but then it picked up again. And throughout, I think that, the performance really helped with that. Reaction and it feeds off, both feed off each other, which I like, and it has been a problem throughout the season where it's like, well, chicken and egg. Do the fans need to get the players going, or do the players need to get everyone going? And it all seemed to work in harmony yesterday, and it made for a great day, and which is why probably you came away buzzing while you were still doing that instant reaction. And I think most people were. There's still some very curmudgeonly people out there that are not having it, but I mean, I think largely, by and large, the reaction was pretty good.
Yeah, listen, away from home, there is an awful lot of work to do. I said that in the instant reaction, but we're talking about a home game, the 8th league home game that we haven't lost. And it's been a while since we've not lost in 8 league games. Do we want to go 2-0 down? No, of course we don't want to go 2-0 down. But if we go 2-0 down, fight back in the way that we fought back yesterday, okay, fair enough. I've got to be honest, at 2-0 down against second in the league 3-4 months ago, that's Barnsley revisited. But it ain't. It wasn't. And at no stage really did it ever look like that. First goal is so disappointing. Particularly, if you've seen the goals on Tuesday night, you've seen this goal as the amount of times that the cross comes in from the right and someone's heading in, or that cross is going in, as was the case for the first one on Tuesday night, or someone's at the back post to head it in unmarked, is becoming more than a slight concern. Here's where Lawrence has got to improve. That guy's got to be shown down the line. He cannot be allowed to cut inside and put that cross over, and he certainly can't be allowed in as easily as that. He'll learn. That's fine. That's one of the parts of his development. He's here to influence the game at the other side of it, but in League One, you've got to dig in as well. But even then, some of his mates could have helped him out by marking people. Of all the people to leave unmarked, the striker who putting himself about as physical as striker as I really enjoyed watching Draper's performance, actually, even though I was a Luton fan. I'm sat there, I'm like, that's my kind of number 9, I've mentioned in previous times that I completely understand the role that Nicky Wells is being given as our number 9, and he's playing the role that Jack wants him to play perfectly. But I'm old school, Jimbo. That's my number 9. All arms and legs, and put yourself about a bit.
Yeah, he was an absolute nuisance, and it's one of the reasons you can see why they are where they are, because, if you really boil it down, they aren't really anything special from the way they play, but they play the percentages very well. They're absolutely giant compared to us, which is why, if you had any doubts at 2-0, it was probably that they were going to absolutely steamroll us, because our midfield versus their everybody was, even the attackers of ours, we're all quite small compared to their massive players, and they play it well. They lump it up, play off the second balls, and they're very physical, and which is one of the reasons why, if you look towards the end of the game, and we stood up to that barrage of that 10 minutes, was impressive on our part. But they've got a striker there that's a nuisance, and and it is true. And if you're looking at Luton saying, well, where can we improve? Obviously, not even yesterday, it was obvious a while ago, a striker that plays like that would be one. We haven't got that at the moment, but as we pointed out numerous times, that Wells is playing a particular role that Jack wants him to. Now, yesterday in the press conference, Jack said he's playing that. He's doing really well, and you can see why I like playing him, because the amount of times I have. He would say, and I would say, he needs to score more goals. And that's obvious. He hadn't scored a goal since 31st of October, and this is only his second league goal and his first from open play, and it's mid-January. I mean, what a way to announce how you're going to start scoring from open play. Unbelievable goal.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. The other thing I've said on this podcast many a time, Jimbo, stop giving soft free kicks away, because we can't defend the bloody things. Now, Naismith is fouled, right, before he fouls the 34 Draper. I mean, the battle between them two was a constant theme in the first half. It was the first half, really. And to be fair, Naismith gave as good as he got, but he wasn't quite as cute as Draper, and the obvious foul that was noticed by Tweedledee and Tweedledum refereeing the game was the Naismith foul, and from that point onwards, you kind of feared for us, because, like you say, I mean, they've brought 11 men from the land of the giants, haven't they? And we're nothing like that. The free kick went over to the back stick, got headed across. I don't know how much Street knew about it. I don't know if he put it in or if it just hit him or whatever. But once they won the header at the back post, we were always in trouble, because we'd loaded a couple of our taller players up at the back post, and they still won that header. And then it went and 2-0. And I'm like,
I bet they couldn't believe their luck because they were second best and they barely created anything and they were suddenly 2-0 up. I bet they couldn't believe their luck. They hadn't worked hard at all to get those goals. And, that's where the criticism, if you're going to have any, will be at how basic they were and how soft we conceded them. But everything else around that, before even the response to those goals, was exactly what you want to see. And like I say, I mean, as a clash of styles, if you put both of them on a table and say, choose one, I would choose the way Luton played. It was a very attractive way of playing football over what Lincoln do. But if you're then saying, well, one will only just about get into the playoffs, or we don't know yet, and the other one looks nailed on for automatic promotion, it changes the picture a little bit there. But, ultimately, long term, I'd still always go for the way Luton have played. It really excited me.
yeah, indeed. I mean, if both of us end up in the Championship, which style is likely to prosper in the Championship? It's probably more ours than theirs, you'd have to say. When Kadir put that rebound over the crossbar, I think it was Kadir, I mean, I was staring into the abyss. When that went over the crossbar, you're kind of thinking, this ain't our day, because that's the first time he slashed a finish for a long time. Normally, he caresses them in the corner, doesn't he? And you're kind of thinking, when it bounced out to him, you're kind of thinking, right, we're back in the game here. And then he's another one who's threatened Keith Keane's gutter, isn't he, with that shot? And it's poor old Keith Keane's gutter. It took a battering yesterday. If you wonder what the hell I'm on about, think back to that Aldershot game in the conference where he absolutely twanged it and they needed to get the stadium manager out to put it back up again. Kind of thought, we're playing well, but maybe someone ain't shining on us today.
Yeah, I mean, I would be with you if you had that thought of it's not going to be our day today, even though as well we were playing and that moment happened. I mean, it came from Lawrence as well. Again, another shot. I mean, straight down the pipe of Wickens, but it's too fierce and he beat it out. Yeah, for all the good goals that Gideon Kadir scored this season, that one was almost, a tap-in for him. And so to sky it over, you're thinking, well, you're not going to get that many more chances, really. As it happens, there were chances galore everywhere, really. So one of the reasons it contributed to being such a good game. But, yeah, and if you look back on it, really, that chance, and there was one later that we'll discuss as well from Wells, if you put those away, then the disallowed Mads goal doesn't even, factor into your analysis of the game, really, because it's dead and buried then. But the thing is, we've created chances now, isn't it? That is a nice thing because we hadn't been. And even when you look at the strikers, criticise them as much as you like for the goal out, but they're not really having chances put on a plate or even half chances for them to stick shots on, let alone goals, which is why the one that Wells put away was so remarkable. Well, one of the reasons, anyways. But now we're creating them all over the place because, a team as solid as Lincoln couldn't deal with Kadir down the middle, which, by the way, is proven an absolute masterstroke. Lawrence cutting in from the right, Bramall bombarding down the left, and Jack Wilshere talked afterwards about he's asked him to, vary his attacks and come inside sometimes as well. So if he starts doing that, they're going to have no chance. And it was just really exciting with Walsh actually like pulling the strings at the back and playing balls here and there, piercing lines and penetration, all that good stuff that you want to see. Clark as well running those spaces. So they couldn't cope with that. And that's why it was really, really attractive to look at.
Yeah, let's just pause a minute because the attacking structure of this football team has massively changed in front of our very eyes over the last 6 weeks or so. Now, we mentioned, didn't we, going into the Reading away game and that big period of Christmas period. You give Liam Walsh space. You create space for Liam Walsh on that pitch through your structure, which is the word that Jack is using an awful lot more, and through pace and speed and ability to kill teams with it. They ain't got a chance. And right now, if there's a better player playing League One football than Liam Walsh, well, I want to see him because he must be playing bloody well.
Yeah, but he is. But he's always had that. I maintain that. I'm sure you could go back to last season. There'll be points where I'm sure we both said he was really good. Obviously, he had that really rocky start where he got 2 red cards and people weren't having him at all. But you recover from that once he came back and he made that pledge to make it up to people. I think he's more than done that, and he's got that. He's such a great his range of passing is absolutely fantastic. But now he's also happy to take it in very tight spaces in between those lines, or when you're trying to invite the press to come onto you and then beat it. He's doing that, and there's little 1-2s between him and Clark that's getting out of those tight spaces, which we've seen other teams do and going, why can't we do that? But now we are doing it, and it looks so good.
The best one was in the first half where the guy was closing him down and he just lifted it over his head and just kindly tapped it out to Longwick as if, I do that every day of the week, mate. I don't know what you're closing me down for. And, you know, he was the most obvious man of the match going yesterday, and thankfully they finally announced that it was him, because he more than deserved it. Now that we're attacking, we can kill you down the right. Under Bloomfield, if you sorted our left-hand side out, you had us done. We couldn't score a goal. Now we can kill you down the right. If you got that covered, do you know what? We'll kill you with Kadir down the middle and Wells down the middle. And if you fancy doing that, well, we've got the left-hand side as well. We can vary our attacks. And this goal output at home, you know, that's a regular run of 2 goals per game. I think it's 5 on the trot now that we've scored 2 goals at home. That's something unheard of. Under Bloomfield, I think we were in a run of, or over the course of his tenure, we had 10 home games under him that we didn't score a goal at all, and he was only here 10 months. The chalk and cheese to that is incredible. Yes, we've got to find a way of putting that structure and performance away from home, and the next 10 days is going to be an acid test with exactly where we are in the bigger picture. But it's so good going to Kenilworth Road and sitting there and watching attacking footballers, not 6 defensive players on the pitch, attacking footballers. Both fullbacks are starting to attack now. Longwake maybe not as much as Joe Johnson, but Joe Johnson's heavily involved in the attack. And it's good to see, if you're not coming away from Kenilworth Road now a little more positive and having enjoyed what you've watched a little bit more than, say, September, October, I don't know what more we can do other than sign Lionel Messi. And let's be fair, we're not going to sign Lionel Messi anytime soon.
I whispered it in one of the previous podcasts that I think that Fortress Kenilworth Road might be returning. I think you can say it more positively now, that it looks like we're getting back to something approaching that. I know some people will say it's not a fortress yet, but it's 8 games unbeaten at home. You could stretch it even far, and maybe in a couple of days or a week's time, when the Swindon result gets sorted out, that number goes up by 3 as well, because in all competitions, because we've been really solid but attackingly impressive in this run of home games. And you've got to do that to stand a chance of progressing anyway. You've got to be really strong at home, and then the old adage, you pick up a point away from home and then you'll be right in the mix. And that's still to be seen, the away, but yeah, it just does feel like home again.
It does. Let's get back onto the game. It's important that Jack has recognised our deficiencies from set pieces, because we get a raft of corners with this team. We really do. The speed that we attack at, really the only option that the defenders have got is to get themselves in the way of a cross or a last-ditch tackle to put the ball behind. And that's how we got back into the game, wasn't it? A Liam Walsh corner. I mean, if you change the colours of the shirts and you go and watch that Leyton Orient equaliser at their place, you've seen this movie before, because Liam Walsh puts a corner over that the goalkeeper, I don't know where he's flapping, but he's flapping nowhere near the ball. And out of nowhere, in the land of the Giants, one of the smallest players on the pitch, in Gideon Kadir, just steams in and heads it in. He can't miss from where he is. It is an identical goal to the Leyton Orient away goal, and gets us back in the game at 2-1. And from there, I thought, well, do you know what? This might be our day.
Yes, at the point that we scored and the way we were playing, the momentum is there. You can feel it when you're in the ground. You can understand that this shift is happening. And I didn't expect that goal to be happening against that team. For David to be scoring against the Goliaths was almost unheard of. And, that's probably one of the only goals that Kadir scored in his 10 that won't be included in his own personal goal of the season competition at the end to get that. But interestingly, spoke to Jack Wilshere afterwards, and he said that they've worked on that. And the person who clocked this and the person who led the sessions to draw that out, Kevin Pilkington, the goalie coach. Interesting. So if he's now goalie coach / free kick expert, and let's be honest that it's very important. We've shown how important it is. Jack Wilshere afterwards recognised how important set pieces are in this division, and he's come from Arsenal, where they pretty much pioneered goals from set pieces the last couple of seasons, and they've got an expert free kick coach, set piece coach. Sorry, that could be a very interesting development.
Yeah, indeed. It is something that we need to get better and better and better at in both boxes. We need to get better at defending them. But if you're scoring from them, I mean, they're almost like a free goal, really, because you don't have to do a great deal of work because we're just naturally going to win so many corners. And when you've got Liam Walsh's delivery, I mean, it's right on the button. What we
And
haven't,
Joe Johnson.
I was going to say, what we haven't had is the other side. Now we've got it from the other side as well. I mean,
Deliveries are great at the moment.
it's absolutely beautiful, as was the goal that levelled the game, Jimbo, and it started with Joe Johnson giving the ball inside to Naismith, who had his troubles with that 34 yesterday, I think it's fair to say. But when he was on the ball, it looked like the Cal Naismith, it was 3 years on the Friday, wasn't it? 4 years on the Friday since the Bournemouth goal, the iconic Bournemouth goal. And there was shades of that Naismith on the ball yesterday. He only played one or two of those worldy diagonals, which weren't coming off at all the last time that we saw him. But every time he passed the ball into midfield, he passed it with pace and purpose. This time wasn't into midfield. He actually carried the ball past the halfway line. Space opened up. Jordan Clark makes an absolute dream run to just, it's like the parting of the Red Sea, wasn't it? Or Blue Sea, well, Purple Sea, whatever colour you want to call their kit. Naki Wells comes short. He's got all the space in the world to take the pass. He controls the pass, moves with it for about 5 yards, and then unleashes a rocket that's outside of the post for probably 3/4 of its journey, and then tails in just at the last minute into the bottom corner. Goalkeeper's got no chance. Right on half-time, literally 30 seconds or so after the referee blew up for half-time. Massive time to score and a massive goal to score, both for the scorer, the assister, and just the whole feeling of the place, really.
Unbelievable goal. I mean, he's whacked that from all of 25 yards, and for a good 12 and a half of those yards, I was going, "Oh, why have you done? Oh my God, he's got a goal!" Because we haven't seen that, and it's not like he's been lining them up and he's been getting close. We just have not seen that. He's got that in his locker, absolutely fantastic. But that starts a goal glut even better. What a strike! I agree with you. I do like Clark's run there. It sort of does enough to just divert the attention to make you think if you're the keeper, you might play it in there and I've got time to reset. But he's turned around, had a quick look, barely any backlift, boom, straight bottom corner. And at that point, you're like, well, this is ours now, because you can go into half time and it's moments of when you score goals. We all know this, straight after or just before half time, shifts the whole momentum of everything. And then the noise went up at half time and you think, we've got this. The only reservation I had is that sometimes we come out and we start a bit slow. And I don't think we necessarily did. It was a bit quiet though, but only for 5 minutes. And then we just carried on like we'd been playing in the first half.
Yeah, we did. And we were attacking the Kenilworth end in the second half. And I mean, I could see literally everything for half an hour. It was all down our end. And it was just a case, as I said in the instant reaction, every time we got the ball into Walsh or Clark and that front five went at them, you kind of felt that we were going to score a goal or have a chance to score a goal. And I mean, the first big chance of the half came from Bramall's cross, and Wells, we're not used to strikers getting in front of their man at the front post, but Wells has clearly got a pep in his step after his goal, and he does get in front of him. It's not the easiest header in the world, but it's a header that I'm sure he would have expected to hit the target with at the very least. He's put it over the crossbar, but it was a sign of intent of what was to come.
Yeah, it just set the tone, didn't it, for the rest of the but well, not the rest of the half, but the majority of the half, where we were really still on the front foot. Yeah, I mean, it's a free header. He's far enough out. He's not a heading expert. He's not a Carlton Morris, so you'd expect that to get straight on. But if you're telling me that he's missed a sitter, then I think you've got a point, because I think you should be getting it on target. And you take that chance, and the Gadea chance when it was 2-0, and you put them together and you think, well, we really should have won that game. I'm not viewing it ultimately like that overall at the end of it. I'm really happy with the performance and that we came back and we showed all the qualities that we wanted. Yes, I think we should have won that game, but I'm not gutted about it.
No, indeed, yeah. Bramall had a chance. coming towards the byline that he blazed just wide. Again, if he'd gone across goal, that might have yielded something different. And then the big moment of the entire afternoon, really. Luton get a corner down on the left-hand side. Joe Johnson's taking absolutely gorgeous corners. The goalkeeper, funnily enough, the first corner that he takes in this passage of play isn't the greatest. The goalkeeper's got absolutely no one near him, and for some god unknown reason decides to punch it up near me in the Kenilworth end. And you kind of wonder if that spooked him out, because the resulting corner from that, Joe Johnson's then floated it over his head towards the back post, and the goalkeeper's got right underneath it. And as he's gone to backtrack, his legs have got in a tangle and he's tripped himself over and ended up on the floor. And Mads Anderson, if you go back a month worth of podcasts, I have pointed out that this guy needs to play up front, is there to thump it in with his head. And, pandemonium is ensuing, isn't it? The Kenilworth end's going mental. All the players are celebrating. But then old Tweedledum has to have the last say, doesn't he? And he gives a free kick. I've not seen no replay. I've seen the replay that's been shared on social media from a really bad angle, but where I sit in the ground, I'm right above that. There is no one near this goalkeeper. There is no foul. There is no nothing on this guy. He has literally got under the ball, tripped himself up as he's gone backwards to try and reach up to get the ball, and had a little moan at the referee. And he needs to play the lottery, because he has struck the absolute 6 numbers there.
Yeah, I've seen it from 3 or 4 replay angles. At the time, I thought it was a goal, no problem. And then I've seen it since, and some of those camera angles, it's an absolute clown show. He's just thrown himself backwards with all the theatrics that it takes. There's barely anyone actually touching him or near him. And I thought that was a goal, and I thought that the ref was actually signalling for a goal. I've had some people say that no, he was actually signalling for a foul, but the celebrations go on for ages. It felt like we were really going for it, and we thought this is our day, and we've turned this around, and we did all of that. It should have been a goal. It's an absolutely terrible decision, and he made a few bad ones. So that's the disappointing thing, is that we really should have come back and got that victory, clawed back some points on them. If we got beaten, I think you definitely say automatic promotion's out. I think with the draw, I'm still saying it's probably unlikely, and I think it's destination playoffs if it's going to be anything this season for us. But, the performance is still right up there with anything I've seen this season. That gives me a lot of encouragement. And hopefully we're going to get plenty more of those opportunities from the corners, because, we talked about Walsh and you've talked about Johnson there. Joe Johnson is becoming not just an absolutely corner taker supreme, but he is becoming a dream of a left back. It's only early days, so maybe it's a daydream of a left back, but we've got something really good there, and I'm impressed with him.
No doubt about that. Yeah, you don't play for England at any age levels if you're crap, and he's definitely not that, is he? And I just love his composure when he goes into midfield and allows the attacking players to do their thing. He just lays the ball off to Walsh and says, "Go on, mate. This is all about you. Go and get us on the front foot," and it's great to see. You mentioned destination playoffs. If that goal's allowed, we are a team in the playoffs right now, and let's hope that those 2 points don't come back to haunt us. The one thing you can't do when you've worked so hard to come back into a game, you deserve to take the lead, and, frustrations were obviously getting high because, once again, there's an injustice. You can't then leave the back door open the other way and get done with the sucker punch. And when you do that, which we did, you need your goalkeeper to absolutely rescue you. And considering from the moment that the second goal hit the back of the net for Lincoln, he had no sight of the ball whatsoever. That is a top save from Josh Kearley. We've had comments on this podcast about getting Shea in goal and is Kearley all this and that and the other. Well, that's what I want my goalkeeper to do when he's called upon. Stick it over the crossbar. Look, I have no problem with Kearley whatsoever. I sat in front of these cameras last season and I had massive problems with a goalkeeper who wouldn't come off his line. I don't have any issue with a keeper who comes off his line, particularly when he's making saves like that, because that header was top corner.
Yeah, it is straight out of the top drawer. I think if you compare, if you're looking at the two, and everybody loves Chasey, he's a great bloke. and he's been a great servant. But in the trophy games he's played, he's made some ricks there that have led to goals. Whereas he's kept whereas Keeley, has kept the concentration for the entire game, where he's not really had anything to do and pulls that off fingertip. It's point blank range. So for him to be able to do that, I mean, he's really earned Luton something there, when it would have been a complete injustice if they'd have got something, albeit that for 10 minutes they finished the game stronger. But I think that was because we took Gadea off and lost some momentum there. And maybe we'd lost a bit of puff anyway because we'd been full throttle for so long. That's something that I guess will have to come, because Jack talked earlier in his tenure that he wants to be able to go throughout the whole game and be in the fittest team. But I'll take 80 minutes for now and gradually increase that, if you like. But the rear guard from that last 10 minutes, it was nervy because we didn't deserve not to get anything. But that's something to really hold on to now as well, and take forward, that you can, against that team who were relentless for those 10 minutes, shut them out and keep them out. And sometimes you need a top draw save from a keeper to do that. Sometimes you need a block or a last-ditch tackle or something like that. It happened to be Keeley this time. So that is a really impressive way to see out that point when, at any point during the first half of the season, particularly, under the previous regime, crumbled. We'd absolutely crumbled on that.
Yeah, we really would. So much character, as I mentioned, in the instant reaction. And we play like that in every home game between now and the end of the season. We are going to win a hell of a lot more than we don't. And it's good to see. And now we're right on the heels of the playoff places. And huge few weeks coming up. You look at the games coming up. Plymouth suddenly found form, came down with us last season, entitled to be a lot better than their league position suggests. Huddersfield, whew, hello season defining. Huddersfield away, at Blackpool at home again, expecting them to pick up now that they've changed their manager. Although, well, if you saw the goal that they conceded yesterday, I'm looking forward to our press against their goalkeeper. Bradford at home. And then, of course, Cardiff away. And these next 5 games, Jimbo, they're going to tell us exactly where we are.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Huddersfield sacked Lee Grant last night as well, didn't they? So by the time we go there, perhaps they'll have a new man in, and we hope no new manager bounce. But you can see the momentum shifting that top 6, 7, 8, whereas we are right on the heels of Huddersfield, having played some good football in parts of games, but now for most of that game against Lincoln, the momentum seems like it would be with us if we can translate what we're doing at Kenilworth Road on the road. We've got 2 of those coming up, so it feels a lot better at the moment, albeit it would have been nice to have broken in there yesterday with a victory that we deserved. But all good things come to those who wait, perhaps.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to be in there first week in May, don't you? Not the last week in January. The good thing with regards to Huddersfield, the geezer who smashed that free kick in at our place, I saw him lining up for Middlesbrough on Friday night, so he's obviously departed, and will make them weaker as a result. And I'm sure loads of you are going to be putting the name Joe Taylor in the comments. Yes, we're going to come up against him after the Cardiff game against Wigan, but that's fine. We'll worry about that situation as and when. So yeah, really good afternoon of football yesterday. Good clash of styles, good blend. Good to see that we've still got enough about us to take a few punches on the chin and come back good. And yeah, it just continues the momentum at home, and long may that continue. Now, these 2 away games, let's try and transfer some of that away from home, because if we're only okay away from home, we'll be top 6, because the home form looks solid as a rock now.
Yeah, I mean, if you take any of that intensity, the performance, the passing, the incisiveness, the pace, the aggression, take any of that, and even if you get 80% of what we saw, that's going to be competitive enough for most of the teams in this division to really have a go at them. But I think we now the most important thing is the way we've got variation in our attacks. Whereas before, you mentioned it quite rightly, you shut down Cohen Bramall, that's the end of it. And now we're like, well, no, if you're going to do that, then we'll go to the other side, whoever that is, whether it's Lawrence or Morris. Kadea down the middle, please never move him out of there. Him playing as like the foil to the 9 is working an absolute treat. Liam Walsh is having like the couple of months of his life at the moment because he's really come to the fore, and everybody is recognising it as well, which I like, because at some point people were calling him for not calling on him not to be a Luton player. You can't say that now. And Clark for a 200th appearance as well, which is credit to Jordan Clark. Congratulations.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. That you mentioned it in the instant reaction, like attacking sort of 5 or 6. We've got something there that you can take to away grounds and make them feel worried, whereas before we're worrying about what they've got or the formation, how we're going to play. I think the first 11 almost picks itself now, and that's really good.
Indeed, yeah, brilliant servant. Jordan Clark, of course, 200 games and barely a bad one in amongst them when we've had him in those attacking positions, and we don't need to go into the defensive positions. They normally give out 4 nominations, don't they, for Player of the Month in these various divisions. I mean, if Liam Walsh hasn't got all 4 nominations in January, something's gone wrong, because, like I say, I'm not seeing a player playing better football in League One right now.
Well, the only one that can challenge him is really Kadea, because he's got 5 goals in 4 games, really. The only one that can really challenge him for that honour, but he's been outstanding. He's at the heart of everything that Luton are doing positively, and he always had that in him, but it wasn't really getting the run, or he was playing with players that were hampering those skills and abilities, and now he's the main man.
Oh, he absolutely is, yeah. I mean, we wax lyrical about his passing and everything from an attacking point of view. His second half against Stevenage and yesterday, he was winning the ball back as well, and that was good. And you can
very
tell,
aggressive.
yeah,
but tackling fairly.
Well, that's it. He's aggressive with some composure.
Yeah.
Jack's obviously got some composure, because yesterday heads could quite easily have wobbled. I mean, Naismith was getting well and truly cheesed off. He swiped at that 34 shortly after he mugged him off for the second goal. On another day, that's a booking, because you can see that coming a mile off with the frustration and everything. And then, Liam Walsh in the past never needed second invitation to lose his head, but now it's all calm and really going in the right direction. Wasn't calm on Tuesday night, though, was it? I mean, crikey, I've seen some things on a football pitch, but, wow, I mean, you've all seen and heard the fallout, and I don't know. Let's deal with the palaver first, because I've got massive issues with what I saw in that second half. And if we'd done a podcast on Wednesday, the old bleep machine, I'll have broken the damn thing. But I mean, I don't even know where to start with this, to be honest. I've literally never seen anything like this in my life before. I've got to be honest, I didn't notice it. I mean, obviously, I don't see the team sheet. The only team sheet I see is what they stick out on social media, which did have Drinnen in it. And obviously, the official team sheets didn't. And it just so happens that the 2 geezers who shouldn't have been on the pitch combined to set up the winning goal. One thing I will say on this, Jimbo, is if the Drinnen issue was the only issue, then I think I'm of a find them and move on. But clearly it's not, is it? They clearly played a player who's banned, and unfortunately for Swindon, you can't allow that precedent to stand, because they'll be playing banned players here, there, and everywhere if they do. So I would imagine that their repercussions are that we will host Plymouth in the next round of the competition. But you ever seen anything like it?
Never really. I've reported on football for 20 years, and kind of coincidentally, the first time I ever reported on Luton, Ian Holloway was the manager for QPR, and that was 20 years ago this week. Never seen anything like that, though. Even to the point where when they brought Drinnen on and I had the team sheet and he wasn't on, I was going, what's this mean? I didn't even think that would be the case, because you just don't expect it. There's so many checks that can go on before the game, throughout the game, when the substitute's being made and the officials are checking that. How that
or not has the
or not, yeah, but how that was allowed to happen is absolutely beyond me. So yeah, I've never seen it. Ultimately, it made some drama out of a game where we'd be talking about getting beaten when we shouldn't have by a League Two side, a good League Two side, by the way. If you're Swindon fans, you're riding high, and there's a chance that we could be playing each other next season. We hope not, but that is the case. But yeah, absolutely bonkers just to see that unfold, and for the 8 minutes it took for them to figure it out and wonder what's going on, and then even the basic mechanics of that 8 minutes then translated into 6 minutes of extra time, yeah, with all the normal accoutrements of stoppages that happens in football. Absolutely bonkers way to officiate a football match. And at that point, we only knew about Drinnen. And I'm probably with you. I'm thinking if they've made a really big mistake here, whether it's if it's the officials, then that's not Swindon's fault. But I think if it was the officials that made a mistake, perhaps you might have to replay that. It's just my gut feel, not anything to do with the rules. Replay that. If it's Swindon's, there'd been precedent of ineligible players this season where Shrewsbury had got fined for playing an ineligible player against Chelsea under 21s, and then also in the Carabao Cup
Grimsby,
against Manchester United. But those ineligible players were named on the team sheet. They just weren't supposed to be. This guy wasn't on the team sheet. So that's a new thing on me, and I'd never seen. And then obviously we hear a day or two later that Clark, who we knew was banned anyway, there was news stories out about it that he'd been banned for 7 games. Some really horrible stuff, actually. They've sort of
violating his opponent, and
Yes.
they don't like that word, Swindon, so I'll only use it once because they're disputing the strength of that particular charge. But yeah, here is the problem, right? Right, let's get this right. Do Luton deserve to be in the FA Trophy? In the FA Trophy? No, crikey. Do Luton still deserve to be in the Vertu Trophy? No, we don't. That second half stunk the gaff out in a way that I thought was way beyond us. Do Swindon deserve to go through? Absolutely, they do deserve to go through. And if Drinnen was the only issue, then you'd have to find them because the officials are as culpable as anything else. It did make me laugh that they were blaming our Wi-Fi. I mean, I've been inside that ground many a time and got no chance with Wi-Fi, lads. The Clark one.
They did on that night actually change the press Wi-Fi, but I mean that's only for us press boys, so I don't think they're using the same ones for the club and the administration staff. It's not a thing.
No skullduggery there. But unfortunately, the Clark one is just, I mean, he's not serving a 3-game ban for a red card. He is serving a 7-game ban for something, well, whatever words they want to use and whatever, something that's clearly serious enough for a 7-game ban. And ultimately, that's not a paperwork issue. That is a faux pas that is probably going to have repercussions, and it may well lead to us being in the quarterfinals because all the vibes of the statements and everything suggest that, well, I mean, they put us in the draw on Saturday, didn't they? Home to Plymouth if we win. That'll all take its toll. For half an hour, we were really good in that game. We should have been 3 up, 4 up. I still don't know how the penalty goes in. I looked away. I thought the goalkeeper had saved it. I think there was a few around me that were letting Yates know what they thought of him at the point that the goalkeeper had saved the shot, but it squirmed under him, and well, thankfully it did. We had the Fanny header as well that should have gone in. 1 or 2 other good things. Lawrence was looking bright. It was him who was brought down for the penalty, and all was going well. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a cross goes straight in at the other end. Really, really poor goal to concede. And from that moment onwards, it was like men against boys the other way. What's happened here?
Absolutely that. Swindon weren't in it at all. They were getting overawed by everything we were doing, but we couldn't make it count after the penalty with the chances we were making, and how many times we heard about that. And then that one sort of, I maintain that that's a cross. I don't know what he's been saying afterwards, probably claims that he was aiming for that to go in as a shot, but that's a cross that everybody misses and it creeps into the corner. And then everything that we saw yesterday against Lincoln, where we didn't let heads drop, we battled and we fought. It felt like from that moment on, we crumbled after that. And that can't happen against a lower league team, albeit, again, I say a good one. It was absolutely really disappointing. After that point, we were terrible. And we deserved to lose. And it's only the fact that we had this drama around the ineligible players that weren't there that that made it interesting, because we'd be talking about an abject display in the second half to go out of a tournament that we really have a great chance of going to Wembley. Now, whether you like the tournament or not, and I've said I'm not that keen on it, but that I'll jump on every bandwagon going if we get anywhere near the final. We're not quite there yet, and I will do that. But to put in that second half performance against a team that were outclassed in the first 35 minutes is not acceptable.
No, it's not. No, and the second goal is every bit as bad as the first one. It's identical, really, isn't it? Except someone gets their head on it in the middle. Shea parries it, and the guy's not missing from where he's parried it to. You're right, Jimbo. I mean, Jack's mentioned regularly that he wants to build a rapport with the fans and he wants to get the fans back on side and everything else. Well, you're 3 games away from taking the fans to Wembley. That's something that all football fans look forward to, whether the competitions, the Sunday League Cup final or, the FA Cup final. Going to Wembley is a special thing. And that I wasn't massively enamoured with the team sheet. But then when I got down to the bench, I'm like, well, we don't want to win this game. That's what that bench said to me. Now, look, I'm as big an advocate of bringing academy players through as is possible. But if we went behind in that game, who on that bench was meant to come on and rescue the game? We brought Marvellous Nakamba on when we were 2-1 down. Now, I love Marvellous Nakamba to bits. I always will do. I'll always be forever grateful that I saw a Premier League season largely because of the impact he made when he came in. But he is not going to rescue you a game from 2-1 down, sitting on the halfway line and going from side to side. Ethan Archer, okay, that's fair enough, but you were only ever going to bring Ethan Archer on to replace someone who was being saved for Saturday. The rest were all academy products, and the academy's great, and it was great to see David,
Yeah.
Gowell get his debut, and that's absolutely fine. And but I'm looking at that bench, and I'm like, that ain't telling me that we want to go and win this cup competition.
Yeah, I think that you'd have some company there with that opinion. It's just it is great. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? It's great to give young kids their debut, and that kid, that Gowell, has scored 33 goals already this season. So the quicker you can bring him through, the better. Fantastic. Those numbers are great. If you can translate that into men's football, then we might have a hell of a academy product there. But you need players that can do it and have proven to do it in those moments to come on and rescue a game. Now, the second goal as well was a soft one to concede again. And we've shown with the first 11 we've got yesterday against Lincoln in the league that they've got a bit about them to take that blow and keep playing and come back stronger. Once that goal had gone in, we offered nothing in terms of penetration, chances, intensity, nothing. It was very much like a reserve game or a youth game potentially. I'm not blaming the kids here at all. So yeah, it wasn't good enough that second half, and they deservedly won that game.
Yeah, that's the thing. Listen, if we stay in the trophy by default, then they've lucked out because we don't deserve to still be in the trophy, and that's kind of disappointing. I'd like to hope that someone high up has asked Jack about that team because if you've gone through the group stages, and at Cambridge we played a first team at Cambridge, and Jack in the third of those games played a fairly strong team, and we've got weaker and weaker as we've gone along. And I understood the team around the Exeter game, that was ahead of a bonkers Christmas period. I got that, but we were at home this week. It just felt like a team that didn't want to come in. That's the second time in 2026, and we're only, as we sit here right now, 18 days into 2026, where Jack has given what we would now describe as fringe players a chance to prove that they can be of any use to this team. The first one was at Exeter when he made wholesale changes, and he's done it here. They're not doing it. There is no one coming out of this first team and coming into these games that's saying, I'm here and I'm going to get my place in the way that Joe Johnson earlier in the competition, among others, did do. I mean, George Saville, useless on the night. Chris Makosso, I mean, crikey, couldn't pass water, could he? Some of his passing, I mean, twice in that first half, towards the end of the first half, he created our own problems with terrible pieces of play on the ball. Zach Nelson, anonymous largely on a night where you would have expected him to dominate things. If I'm Jack, I'm kind of pulling my hair out. That's twice that those three people in particular have been given a chance in 2026. Done nothing with it. Nothing at all with it.
Yeah, but maybe it happens at the right time because we've got chance to move some of those players on, and certainly Wilshere was talking afterwards to the Three Counties boys that Nelson might benefit from a loan away. He still sees long term that he could be a player that can help Luton, but we talked him up at the beginning of the season. I did as well. I was hoping that he was one of the players I really wanted to come in and make an impact, and hasn't. He had that good game against Burton, but really hasn't been effectual at all. And times he's been playing, and a lot of the times recently he's not even been in a matchday squad. So, yeah, maybe that might be of use to him. And Ethan Archer, who was good, he did come on and he did make a decent impact. But I think he was always earmarked to go out on loan again, and that looks like that's going to happen. So, yeah, there's no players in there that's coming knocking on the door really. So I say that the 11 that we played against Lincoln, with the subs that came on, Morris is always there or thereabouts. Those are the guys that you're going to go with, I think, all the time now. If you really have to, I mean, not really have to. I can only see that changes if there's a congested week again. But if you're playing Saturday to Saturday, then that team's nailed on to me.
Yeah. Listen, I could have singled a few more out. I only singled those three out because they're regularly on the subs bench, and the ones that, as Jimbo said, the ones that you're kind of relying on to give you something in first team games. Well, it's no surprise that Saville didn't come on yesterday because, I mean, he offered absolutely bobbins on Tuesday night. And one thing...
Makosa's the regretful one for me because he was one of the bright points of last season once he established himself in the side. And I maintain he's very good at defending still, but he showed probably there in that game why he's not been favoured by Jack Wilshere, because when he's got the ball at his feet, it's hardly ever ending up, a pass is hardly ever ending up at a teammate. It's going to other players. And then more worryingly, like that can be a loose pass every now and again. He's playing really dangerous balls across the face of the goal, which are going to their players and giving them a chance. Now, if Swindon had anything more about them in those incidents, they could probably made it more emphatic, that goal, because there was at least one where he knocked it across the face of goal and they had two men over. They didn't make it count. So they could have comfortably made it 3-1, maybe even 4-1. And those mistakes will get more ruthlessly punished in this division that we are playing in the league. So that's a really disappointing one. But it does sort of make it clearer as to why he's not playing.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I mean, he showed that he's still a good defender, but most of the time he had to do the good defending was because he gave the ball away in the first place. And, Shea would be another one who hasn't covered himself in any glory on the night. And if these people don't get another chance in this first team, they've only got themselves to blame because, that's two games that they've been given the opportunity to shine and they've not done it. One man who usually in the trophy would have been given the opportunity to shine is Midley Ali. Well, he's shining already, but it's not in a Luton shirt, Jimbo, because he has left. He's left to go to Portsmouth on loan till the end of the season. From what I understand, there's no clause to buy or anything like that, so we will have Midley Ali back in the summer, and who knows, maybe he comes back as a different player and a player that Jack believes he can go forward with, or that the Championship suits him more than League One. I don't know which the answer is to that, but ultimately, gone.
He was involved in one of their goals straight away, wasn't he, yesterday for Portsmouth. So
made his debut for Luton at Sheffield Wednesday, made his debut for Portsmouth at Sheffield Wednesday.
I mean, what I saw of the clip of the goal that he helped set up for Portsmouth yesterday was everything that we weren't seeing in a Luton shirt. It was he'd always run forward, couple of step overs, or make the wrong choice, or more often than not, we saw this season just come back and the attack had sort of gone. We weren't seeing what we saw from him at the end of last season, which made him such an exciting prospect. And I think also in microcosm, really, if you look at the first half against Lincoln, and obviously Lawrence has come in, and which has meant that Ali has gone out. Lawrence showed in that, first 35 minutes of the first half, where he had a couple of chances and a couple of shots and burst forward and was involved in everything, all the stuff that Mili Ali probably wasn't doing, and which is why he's gone out. And it's disappointing, because loans for me, I always see him in two ways. A young player getting a loan out is to get him minutes to see what he can do. But when he's sort of had established himself, and he's 25 now, Mili Ali, so he's not a young player anymore, and he goes out, even though there's no option to buy for Portsmouth, I kind of feel that unless he comes back at a completely different player and really fancies it, I kind of think that might be the end for Mili Ali as a Luton player.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, obviously, you got Ethan Archer down that side as well, and his development will increase. And we'll discuss him in a lot more detail when he comes back from what we were expecting to be a second loan. There's no point in us waxing lyrical about him and then not seeing him for the rest of the season. So that's one to look at in the summer and things like that. Yeah, we've got cover for Mili Ali. I mean, it's always nice to watch him play when he's at his best, but we've got cover, so he might not be quite as big a loss. But one man who will be a big loss for this football club, Jimbo, that it was announced on Thursday who is left, is the Chief Revenue Officer, Ben Kensell. And you and I have both had many dealings with the guy. He came with if media reports to be believed, came with a checkered reputation. But in all the dealings I had with the guy, and I only speak as I find, as I only ever do, I say what I see. And I thought he was a breath of fresh air for the club, and we're going to see a lot of the fruits of his 6 months or so, 7 months of labour down the line. But yeah, it's a real shame that he's gone.
It is a real shame, because we weren't really having any contact with people from the club. I mean, I have contact with the press boys, but other than that, there wasn't much contact with anyone from the club. And then he came in and he instigated that himself. It's not like we did; he did. And I found him to be a really straight shooter and a straight talker, and got to the point really quickly, and went in and troubleshooted seemingly numerous problems, which I guess if you're really only focused on the pitch stuff, you won't necessarily see. But like you say, there'll be further down the line the things that will come to light, which people will like, that hadn't happened previously on the commercial side. So yeah, I think it's a really big loss. And let's not also forget that if you enjoyed the Content Creator Day that we did, and lots of the other podcast channels did, that was Ben Kensell. He instigated that. He set that all up, and it was great. And I think everybody loved it. People really appreciated it. You out there, the viewers and listeners, really liked that. And he set that up. And at the time, he said, we hope that's going to be the start of this doing it more regularly. And whether that carries on now, I just don't know, because it'd be a real shame. Hopefully the club do carry that on, because I think you guys out there liked it. But we're sort of up in the air that we don't know yet.
Yeah, it's massive, something massively different that was. And we've been doing this for 10 years, or coming up to 10 years. And that's the first time that we've experienced anything like that. Listen, we've always had players on the podcast back in the early days through the rise, when, it was a lot easier to get access to players. But yeah, no, that was something completely different. I get people asking me a lot, well, what did Ben Kensell do then if he was so good? Well, I'm sat here, if you're watching on YouTube, in a shirt. There's this season's home shirt that's got Capital Sky plastered across the front of it. Well, he was the one who negotiated that deal, as he did the sponsors on all the sleeves. In fact, all of the shirt sponsors. And he came in May, which kind of tells you exactly the mess that was left, really, because you'd expect a shirt sponsor to have been sorted by his predecessor long before May, because they're meant to go on sale in July. So that's one thing that he's done. You've mentioned that the communication improved under him. I know that he's, done a lot of other sort of commercial deals. I can't give too much away, but one thing I will say is that he came to the trust board regarding next season's kit an awful lot earlier than I've ever experienced it, and I've been on the trust board for 8 years. So, at the time of him leaving, the next season's kit will have been well down the line. I'm led to believe that he's got sponsorship deals in place that take us to Power Court. That's not necessarily been announced yet, but they will do. Presumably, because he came in May, all of this season's prices and structure and everything would already have been in place. So I'm assuming that the deals and stuff that he's done will begin next summer, ahead of next season. Lots more local businesses are being targeted through partnerships and things like that. They held a partnership evening over Christmas, which was absolutely full in the Eric Morecambe. The Trust are one of the partners that the club involved. It used to be the business club. They now call it the partner club. And I know our chairman and a couple of our board members were invited, and they had a really good evening there with lots of local businesses, which again, we'd fallen out with once we'd got to the Premier League and in amongst all of that under his predecessor. And speaking to people that I know that work at the club, friends of mine that I've been friends with from school days, the morale within the day-to-day staff is an awful lot higher. He just came in and he gave them all sort of lease of life and a breath of fresh air, really. So he is definitely going to be missed, Jimbo. Absolutely no doubt about that, because in all my dealings with him, he's probably the most modern person that I've dealt with, whose ideas were modern and made absolute sense and created and generated an awful lot of traffic or positivity.
Yeah, I think so. But that came from his personality. I think he was a very enthusiastic guy, and I enjoyed his company when I was in it. And I think one of the main things, for us as a podcast and me as a journalist, really, is that he came in with a view to improving the communication. Now, we've heard from all you guys out there for best part of 2 years that that's been not good enough, and you wanted that improving. Well, he was doing that. So I just hope that whatever he put in place and process and things that continues. But it's a real shame that he's gone. Where he's gone, you don't turn that down. Ultimately, unfortunately, and I wish him all the best. I really do. So you can't blame him for that at all. But it's just a bit of a shame because things were starting to turn towards a positive little.
Yeah, it really was. In terms of on the pitch, something that he had an impact with, well, he was part of the committee that chose the new manager, Jack Wilshere, and was quite involved in Chris Powell coming to the club. He worked with Chris Powell in his Charlton days, so he knows him very well. So, look, the impact of the guy, whilst it was only a short spell in charge, was massive. So those of you that were skeptical about him because of the media reports and stuff, I can only speak as I find it. I think he's going to be a big loss and a big person to replace, but he doesn't need to be replaced because the role that he was doing was so much more important than, when he arrived, we thought it was just a made up title. Actually, it suddenly became a really important role because all of the sort of day-to-day departments, communication, retail, commercial and everything were underneath him, and they were all benefiting as a result.
Yeah, absolutely. And wasn't he was behind the trust day with the 5 players, and I've got to edit that for you guys, but we'll get that out to you at some point within the next couple of weeks, so you can see how that panned out. But that was a good afternoon as well, where fans who were in attendance got to speak to 5 of the players in a really sort of open and warm and candid way, and I think it came across really, really well. Actually, it was a really useful afternoon to get those experiences, and certainly at the point that happened, Cal Naismith had come under a fair bit of scrutiny, and I think by the way that the people in that room were interacting with him, I think he came away a lot more positive. He's a positive guy anyway, actually, Cal, but I think he came away feeling the love a bit more, which, he's been injured since, and he only came back yesterday, but hopefully that contributes to, the rest of his season.
The host weren't bad that day, was he?
Yeah, I don't know who it was, really. I was really struggling to remember. No, he did a good job, mate.
Cheers. Thanks very much, Ben. On behalf of Jimbo and myself and this podcast and all of you guys that watch this podcast, he was really, really good for us, and hopefully his successor is likewise. There were loads of people who went for Desmond Tutu yesterday, Jimbo. Loads. That referee has gubbed me right off. Done me out of 3 points on this race here. 3-2 was going to happen. It was happening.
Well done, Scott Oldham. You've done an absolute touch there in terms of this podcast section.
I don't know what this bloke sees with fouls, because he was the same geezer who fell for the Ahmad flop up at Sunderland in the promotion season to the Premier League.
I mean, you wonder what half of the referees are seeing sometimes, because they'll blow up for a perfectly legit tackle, and then yesterday give a foul for the goalkeeper basically just falling over and absolutely conning him. So, yeah, I mean, let's be honest, we've got those problems all throughout the football pyramid, even when you get to the Premier League. You know, if they're not getting it right, if VAR's getting it wrong, something like that. But you wonder what they're seeing half the time.
Yeah, I mean, referees at this level, I mean, if I asked them what day of the week it was, they'd go and check a calendar, wouldn't they? I mean, jeepers, it's not good. All of you that went for 2-2, Mark Crowther, Ali Dig N 2749, Paul CN 3IJ, Fleety 1885, successive correct scores for him, and I know that because I forgot to update his score on the last leaderboard, and he kindly messaged me. I will update it this time, though, Paul, don't worry. 1973 Disco Stew, Steve Foster, Ed Hutton 8910, Kneejerk-UK, and Chris McKnight 71649 correct scores, Jim. But I don't think we've ever had that before, and it's not an obvious correct score either, is it? So well done to all of you. You'll get 3 points on our leaderboard, which will appear in the preview for the Plymouth game, which will be out to you normal time later in the week. That's pretty much it for this episode of the podcast. What an eventful week that was.
Well, yeah, a very eventful week. Something else happened as well, which maybe we won't show the people out there
Do you know
on
what?
this episode.
It's great, this.
But I'm quite stunned and a bit flattered by this. Kevin Hale, thank you very much for writing a song about me. My children have been dancing to it for the last couple of days.
That is absolute rubbish. You got that on loop.
It's kind of loosely based on score predictions, isn't it? So I wonder whether we won't play it now, but if you guys in the comments really want to hear it, let me know. And when we come to do the score predictions for the Plymouth game, perhaps we'll give you a little blast of it. It's a full 3-minute song. And I presume, Kevin, let me know, but I presume that you've had AI help with that. If you've written that all yourself, even more kudos. Yeah, it's kind of like a Euro pop anthem, isn't it?
I mean, let's be honest, if they stick that up at Eurovision, UK are coming away with the title. Yeah, no, it's great. It landed in my inbox earlier on in the week, and yeah, I just listened to it out of chance, and then I sent it to Jimbo, and well, I mean, I think he's played it about 3 million times now already, and yeah, no, thank you. It really, what it is a sign of how people are enjoying the podcast, and that's what we always want to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I always say that when you come up to us, thank you very much, and we really appreciate that. But for people to spend their time to write pop songs about me is something I never thought would be happening. But like I say, if you want to hear it, let us know. Show us and show Kev, not this Kev who wrote it. Show him the love, and we'll give you a blast.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I'd gone down the fame route. Someone recognised me in Tesco's in Flitwick on Friday. I was in the fruit aisle, and we were talking about whether it was market research or not. And then all of a sudden, you get a song written about you. I'm extremely jealous, but no, really, really good. Actually, it made us laugh, and yeah, fantastic. Thanks to everyone who continues to come up to us and to say how much you enjoy the podcast, whether you do it in person or via email or via comments on YouTube or wherever it is that you get this podcast. We really, really do appreciate it. You are the guys that we do this for. And thankfully, we're starting to be able to do some more positive podcasts as opposed to 2025, which was full of negative ones because of what we saw on the pitch. And hopefully those positive ones will continue. Thanks also to all the folks at Marsh House, the proud new home of the Luton Town Supporters Trust podcast, and as always to Sean Grant and the Wolfgang for our intro music. Till next time, where we'll preview what is a ridiculously long, stupid early kickoff down at Plymouth. From Jimbo and myself, Cork, and we have some more games like that, please, Town.